Welcome back. My name is Matt Reiners, and I'm the co-founder of Eversound, a company dedicated to improving quality of life for older adults by giving them the gift of hearing. Today, I am joined by Molly Davis Nedley, the National Director of Entertainment and Programming for Spectrum Retirement. Molly has worked her way up from a life enrichment director, rec therapist, to an executive director, community relations director, sales director, and now the national director for almost the last 2 years. Molly is a new friend that I've gotten to know after we spoke on a panel together, and her and Spectrum's view on everything senior living and positive aging is inspiring and is absolutely what I think this industry needs. Thanks for joining me today, Molly.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks for wearing that exciting safari print inspired t-shirt for me. I appreciate it.
Well, I knew this was going to be a fun one today, so I had to break out the fun shirt for us.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Happy to make this happen. And, Molly, I think anyone who has been seeing or viewing any of Spectrum's TikToks know that you're doing things outside the box. And can you share with us the importance of what you've described to me as procuring new, exciting, educational, even rebellious experiences for older adults? And if you have any specific events that come to mind, I'd love to hear about it too.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for the TikTok hat tip. I think just to do a little bit of a soapbox about it, it's been a lot of fun. 2 years ago, early on in the pandemic, we were all new to TikTok. And, back when we were having an abundance of caution at the community level and, really needing to get creative with how to keep the energy high and how to create a vibrant environment inside of our walls when we couldn't really let the inside in for a bit of time. So TikTok for us at the community I was the sales director at, it became sort of an outlet to learn something trending in the world and be a part of a collective energy that was going on around us. And so we started learning some trending dances and, doing some different pranks and things that we saw, and the residents started really enjoying it. It was a way for them to just have a tie-in and kind of get their foot in the door to the rest of the world, to the rest of the trending world anyway. And so, once our followers started figuring out what we were doing, they started really enjoying it and participating and, writing back, and we'd read those comments to the residents. And so there was just this really organic exchange that sort of happened that, happened to also be, more of an intergenerational exchange, which was even more beautiful. So that was kind of where we went with TikTok early on 2 years ago. And, it only took a couple of months. We went from 0 followers to, I think we have 92,000 now.
Yeah.
And so we're just continuing that conversation. But what we've found is that people are addicted to something new, right? You get a little taste and it just becomes something that you crave even more. And so for a lot of our newer experiences, which you called rebellious, which I appreciate, it's about that. It's about trying something new, something that, our residents may have never experienced yet, but maybe their grandkids had, or their great grandkids. So I, just to answer your question, a few of the specific events that we've really loved and had a ton of fun with, that may be a little more rebellious for senior living, would be, obviously our silent disco, which you are well aware of the success around that type of experience. The residents, really didn't know what was going to happen and what it was all about and why they needed headsets. And, when you present a new opportunity to a group of residents without really explaining the what or the why, you just encourage them and you say, come with us. We've got this really cool thing. Trust us. It's going to be exciting. And you sort of build that buzz. And it could take a little bit of time, depends on your approach, right? But people are more inclined to grab your hand and come along for that adventure if you invite them fearlessly. So that was one of the events that really stuck out to me. And, you can find it on our TikTok, but you are well aware of what that whole experience brings. But for our residents, it was about listening to trending music, having a DJ there, learning new dance moves. We invited a breakdance company to come and show us some of their floor skills. Nobody tried it out though, unfortunately, but maybe that's in our future. But it was just it was a really good time. And after that, the director of entertainment and programming at that community, she said, everyone was a little weary at first, but afterwards, oh my gosh, she's like, Molly, they want more. They're asking, what's the next event? What are you planning for us now? And that group of residents has formed an adventure club. And so if that doesn't tell you, the positive results that having just a little taste of something like that can bring, I don't know what will. So what's next is they're about to go, they're going to start aerial dance classes.
Very cool.
We have another community that went axe throwing to celebrate International Women's History Month. And they wanted to throw like a girl, right? So they were like, let's do the opposite of that. Let's take these badass women to an axe throwing studio. And they had a great time. And next week, that same group of residents is going ziplining. So it just goes to show, you might start small and just lean all the way in and see what comes of it, because we have nothing to lose and everything to gain from adventures and experiences like that. They really change the energy and the vibe of a whole community. And if you let that happen, my gosh, the result is amazing.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think you kind of hit on an amazing point there in the beginning when you talked about how TikTok allows like intergenerational thing. And like from what an outside person looking in, like doing some of these things like the axe throwing or the silent discos, like I definitely see have been more accepted, like for people that are thought to be younger, right? And like things that like people and, young professionals might want to go do, but like being rebellious to the aging philosophy and bringing those into senior living and seeing people just embrace it and run with it is awesome.
Absolutely. And I just, when you and I are ready for a senior living community, it's going to look very different. It looks very different now than it did 30, 40 years ago. So why don't we also provide different? And so I feel like that's really the call to action that we ask our teams to do every day, because that's just where the magic happens. It's exciting.
Yeah, so exciting. And I know you kind of touched on this a little bit of like how your residents are responding to these rebellious events, but anything else to add? I know there was some hesitation in the beginning, but it seems like once you guys kind of really just ran with it, you found a lot of success.
Absolutely. I think, some communities, depending on the market, we're in 10 states across the country. And some markets, it might take a little bit more time and more coercing and more handholding and starting small, like I mentioned. So we're not asking everyone to go big, with your first fail swoop, but start that conversation and look for exciting adventures and ecotourism opportunities and excursions that you and I would also enjoy, in the engagement profession, or for us, it's entertainment and programming, because the two definitely go hand in hand when we're talking about this department. But the lifestyle that is available to our residents inside and outside of our community, it's just an open door. And if we, like I said, just get your foot in the door just a little bit, then the rest will swing wide open. So, even if it's like taking residents to Meow Wolf or the Van Gogh immersive exhibit that's sort of swooping the country right now. There's a really cool museum of ice cream in Austin that's awesome. I think it's only in three locations in the world, but like doing those things as well, to procure those exciting outings. Are we going on scenic views? No, we're not. Are we going to, yes, we have a lunch bunch. Of course, those are essential and great for socialization and exploring your town and the local restaurants, et cetera. But let's do more also. And so it's not really about the big and the biggest, experience that you can have, but trickle them in when you can and really go for it, and encouraging our teams in the field that If you want to go try something, talk to your residents about it. They'll trust you because you have that relationship and you've got that buy-in from them already in the community. And then when you lean all the way into it and say, come on, let's do it. I know you want to do this. They're more inclined to join you. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. And I do want to respectfully say, there is a place for the activities and the programs on our calendar that are essential to our well-being, the social, emotional, physical, cognitive, all those things are very important. But what I'm speaking to is the added benefit of experiences that can really change a lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. I think, one thing I can just reflect on in my own life, like senior living is there to build relationships with peers, right? And like what's one easy way you can do that is shared experiences, right? So when you're able to do this stuff together, I think, or I would imagine you're seeing more of those pop up. And one of the things, Molly, I know we've talked about this in the past, and it seems like to kind of fit into the philosophy, but what does progressive programming mean to you? And how does that really just go up beyond the one and done engagement tendency we typically find?
Absolutely. I'm so glad this is a question today, because it's something that we really believe in at Spectrum and beyond, just personally. Instead of things sort of happening where, they just happen to happen and it's activities for activity's sake. It's really about building a progressive program which provide opportunities for people of different interests to engage in the same concept. So in that shared concept, like you're mentioning, it's more inclusive this way because, rather than having a calendar of activities where you've got, 60 opportunities of engagement throughout the month, there may be one general concept that trends through the month or even, 2-3 months where it's something that people want to get involved in, but in different ways. So I always, when teaching this to our teams, I always use like a teacher with their lesson plan as an example. So think of lesson planning for teachers and, there might be a 6-week course, where we're studying astronomy, just to come up with a random idea. And, in the study of astronomy, the teachers are, educating everybody on, the universe and comets and planets. And, we're going on an outing to a conservatory as a field trip. And then, maybe we're also going to rent some telescopes and learn about, different things that way. We're going to watch a documentary followed by a debate where we can discuss, if we believe that there's extraterrestrial life outside of this planet, things like that. And then maybe, there's also going to be an art focus in the art class or art department where they're studying, Van Gogh's Starry Night, and they're doing their own interpretations of that. So that's kind of one way that I try to articulate it to teams to where they see that it's a general concept, astronomy. And then there's these 6 to 7 different opportunities to get involved in learning about that one concept. And so when you apply that take to, our department, senior living, you can really do it with anything. Our teams have been successful, procuring progressive programming surrounding many different concepts like, beer brewing has been really popular. There's a brew crew in one of our communities in Arizona, and they're having a ton of fun, studying the different types of beers, going to a brewery, going to a microbrewery, and, experiencing that from a subject expert, inviting that subject expert in to do a seminar or speaker series. Next, we're going to grow some hops. Next, we're going to study what's that secret ingredient we want to try. Maybe we go to an herb garden and we taste the different things that we could add to it as an outing. Maybe then we're going to, start growing those herbs in our own garden. So what you have now is the people that are interested in gardening are now able to get involved in the same program, but through getting their hands in the dirt. The ones who want to go on those outings to the breweries to experience different tastes, they're going to go on the outings with you. Then you might have those people who really want to help actually cook it and brew it and get their hands, wet that way. Maybe you have another group who wants to actually, help pour it into the bottles and top it with the topper. And maybe they want to design the label for that beer. that our marketing team could help make. So there's just
Wow.
many different concepts. And so you've got a calendar, right, of activities, and there's, 6 or 7 different opportunities to get involved in that one general concept. And so I wanted to ask you, Matt, given that you can really do this progressive programming framework with really any concept, throw one at me and we'll do it together. Can you think of one?
So any concept, I'll come up with one. So I guess for me, I'm a big basketball fan. So What would you say for basketball?
Okay, this is a stretch for me, but my husband will be proud. So, basketball. Okay, here we go. It's March Madness season, right? Let's just pretend.
Okay.
So you've got residents who maybe are huge fans. I'm going to go with the Mavs. We just acquired a community in the Dallas market, so we're excited about that. So the Dallas Mavericks, you've got a community where it's tons of, fans living there. So maybe you've got a fan club on your calendar, an opportunity where everyone to come, wear their Mavs gear, talk Mavs trading, discuss the game strategy, things like that. So that's going to be for one group of residents. Then you've got another group who wants to get together to actually watch the game. Maybe we want to go on an outing to a Mavs game. Maybe one of us knows someone who knows someone that can invite Dirk for a nice little chat with us virtually, or maybe Mark Cuban himself. I mean, who knows? The sky is the limit. And that's a little bit of a different topic, Matt, but I do always encourage our communities to just ask, because the worst answer you could hear is no, right? So we might as well optimize on who we know. And
I mean, hey, you guys got Matthew McConaughey on a Zoom call. So, I mean, always should ask. Green light.
It's a green light. That's right. So, so back to the progressive programming for basketball. Maybe you've got a group who wants, maybe they're more artistically inclined. Maybe they'd like to help design a unique basketball logo. Maybe we're going to come up with a cool, team name for our community, get a hoop out back, start practicing, playing horse and different free throw challenges, and then you've got a different group who wants to come together and not gamble, but maybe they want to kind of see who's going to win and, place different bids and things like that. So progressive program, I just presented a few different ideas to you on one concept that would speak to different residents' interests. Yeah. Personally, I don't play basketball or know much about it, but maybe I want to start a cheer group with my friends at the community, and we can come up with our very own cheers, to record and send to the Mavs. And who knows, maybe they'll throw it up on their big screen. But I just feel like you can do that process with really any concept, and it's a lot of fun when you do.
Yeah. And I will say we did not plan that. So Molly just came up with all of that at the top of her head. So that's like super impressive. And yeah, I mean, I think too, right, it's going an inch wide and a mile deep in some of these themes, and really just trying to make sure that you guys are attacking it in the right way, and then like creating options for people to take advantage of what interests them, all kind of under that same concept, which I just love. And it really defeats the, everyday bingo, that balloon toss, and those are our most popular things, but you're really branching out and doing something. And, Molly, I know one of the things that you've said we chatted in the past is that you and your team like to, quote, flip the middle finger, end quote, to the old ways of doing things. And I love it. But I want you, if you could, just explain that a bit more to our listeners.
Absolutely. Well, I want to revise my statement just a little bit to say that, we'd like to respectfully flip the middle finger.
Okay, that's fine.
And so, and really what we're doing is we're saying, you know what? No, thank you to the, sort of implicit biases that tend to be pushed onto this generation, and, many. So when you go beyond what's expected of us to offer, and then we say, to our residents, go beyond what's expected of you. What do you want to do? What have you always wanted to do and haven't been able to yet? Let's do that. Let's go with that. And so that's really what we mean by that is, gone are the days of, bingo, bunko, and Bible study being the highlight of our calendars. There are so many more productive and beneficial opportunities for experiences. And so that's really what I mean. I won't flip you off today, Matt, but we heard that from William Swearingen, our Senior VP of Sales, Marketing, and Entertainment and Programming. So it's kind of his quote, flip the middle finger to what's expected of us at senior living. And when you do that, it's just exciting. It's reflective of adventure, and it calls to people, and it encourages them and brings them along into the collective energy. And when we talk about staying relevant, it's really, really important because the world is ever changing. As Bob Dylan would say, I won't sing it, but the times they are a changing, and they will always be. And so when we take that as an opportunity to change with it and evolve and grow and bring our residents along for that, that's where I want to be. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. And I think you're helping to change the narrative of what senior living is, right? I think if you look at senior living, right, your biggest competition is people just staying at home, and you're able to kind of flip that on its head of what you guys are doing. And it's not, what I think unfortunately, the majority of people who aren't familiar with senior living think what senior living is, right? And I think it's more of that, their grandmother's nursing home, but you guys are really just giving these opportunities for people to be bold and people to live life and be rebellious in the right ways. And, speaking of bold, I think it's safe to say that you and Spectrum and William have a bold approach. And personally, I'm a big fan. But what do you have to say to those other providers who might be afraid to be bold?
Oh, such a good question. I think I would just encourage folks to fearlessly and unapologetically step all the way outside the box, because when you do, you may never fit back in, and thank God for that, because it's so much more fun to be authentically out.
Yeah.
And be bold because your residents absolutely deserve it. So I just, I think that's it. And start small, start with a little toe tip into the water of life, and just, accept it and slowly go into it. That's what I would say. Be bold, fearless, unapologetic.
I love it. And my favorite question, if you could just give other senior living providers just 3 guiding principles as they go through the next, 12 to 18 months, what would you say?
This one took me some time because I was like, oh, only 3?
You can go more if you want.
No, it's okay. I think one thing that Spectrum's doing really well right now is we're encouraging our residents through this sort of social media marketing campaign where it's called Act Your Age, right? So I don't know if anyone's ever said to you, act your age, Matt, but how did that feel?
Not good. And I still hear it, I think, almost daily, if not weekly. So yeah.
Yeah, I even caught myself saying this to my 6-year-old son the other day. And I immediately was like, I sat back and I was like, that just happened. And so I course corrected. But this campaign right now, the Spectrum's doing is Act Your Age. But instead of act your age, there's a big red line across your age, and it says however you want. And we really want to show that. And so we're challenging the residents to show us, what does it mean to act your age anyway? So I think, that type of campaign has been really, really fun. It does speak to who we are as a senior living industry, or at least who we would like to be. And, those stories that we would like to amplify and tell of our residents. But one thing I would say is, be innovative to the senior living providers out there, because when you do, we all rise. So it's, seeing others succeed. What is the saying? The highest tide raises all the ships. And so, do it. Everybody rise up, because we're all coming also. And the second one would be to continue to adapt and pivot your approach. Because like I said, times really are changing, and so is our clientele. And also, so are our employees. And they want to work in an environment that celebrates these types of things. So it's really, really exciting when we can, add to the benefit and the enjoyment of their lifestyle through their career choices. And the third thing would be optimize on the opportunities to amplify the resident experience so that the world can see that aging is beautiful. And that if a community lifestyle is a person's choice, which in our industry, we hope that it is, right? That they can choose to age fearlessly and with gusto. I think that is a powerful call to action. And if it speaks to certain people and you're like, ooh, I want to do that, then hey, we're in the right career zone. Absolutely. There's way too much fun to be had, way too much life to live. And this is just one season of our residents' lives. So let's make it the best one.
Wow. We got to give you a microphone to drop after that, Molly. That was amazing. And I just want to thank you, Molly Davis Nedley, the National Director of Entertainment and Programming for Spectrum Retirement, for joining me today. And it's been an honor and a privilege. You guys are doing some awesome, awesome stuff.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks so much.